I mean, everybody has an advantage. Everyone has an advantage. My advantage is after working for 30 years in the corporate world and establishing a lot of relationships in the technology community and in the corporate world. I can call a CEO, almost any CEO, and they may or may not have heard of me, but oftentimes they have, ask for a lunch, and then say, "Oh, you're going public. Here's the three things I would try and communicate in your roadshow, or these are the two things I think your company should be focused on." And this is what I've done for a living. And sometimes they'll meet with me. Most times they won't, but sometimes they will. And then they'll usually ask me what they can do for me, and I'll say I want on the IPO. That is a privileged position. I'm leaning into my advantage. Bryce, you have advantage. We talked about it earlier. You have time. You don't need to be a hero. You don't need to find the needle in the haystack. You can buy the whole haystack. And by showing a little bit of discipline and putting some money away, I mean, there's this great stat. I carry an iPhone. My assistant always buys me the brand new iPhone, right? And because I'm a narcissist and I like to communicate to the world that their kids are more likely to survive if they mate with me because I have an iPhone. When you have an Android phone, you're kind of communicating to the world that life really hasn't panned out the way you'd hoped. And but someone did the analysis. If I had taken all the money I'd spent on every iPhone, it's like 26 grand or something since the first iPhone came out, and instead I got a free phone. You can get free phones now with a phone contract. And I invested that money in Apple, I'd have $2.5 million.
Wow.
So just some small decisions. You know, I spend $7 a day on coffee. I'm going to make my own coffee. I'm going to round up using an Acorns investing app and round up to the nearest dollar such that I can save $200, $300, $500 a month. At your age, which is your advantage, you have a lot of time. You know, you can get there. Like, and then people say, well, I'm in my 40s. Is it too late for me? Am I just kind of screwed? I'm like, well, are you single? Do you have a lot of kids? Are you tied any place? No. Okay, that's your advantage. Figure out a way to make some money. Would you work remotely? Yeah, I work remotely. I'm in customer service, or I do temporary staffing, whatever. Okay, that's an advantage. Move to Costa Rica. Get to a point where you can make $5,000 a month, and you can live a really good life in parts of Italy, Costa Rica, parts of Greece. You know, there's some wonderful. Everyone has, or everyone should be able to find, an advantage that you can lean into. But generally speaking, the surest way to build wealth is slowly, and that's with low-cost index funds. Now, almost nobody I know goes all in on index funds. I'm like, fine, have some fun. Buy the next cryptocurrency or stock that you think is going to skyrocket. You will learn that you have no idea what's going on, just like the rest of us. But have some fun. You'll learn about the markets, scratch that itch. Who knows? Maybe you got lucky and, fine. But try and ring fence it to no more than a third of your assets. Try and put, I just think, and Warren Buffett says this, and really every big brain I know in says low-cost index funds. And because the number one question I get via email is it too late to invest in NVIDIA? I'm like, I don't know. Like, well, okay, so what do I do? Well, if you buy SPY, if you buy the S&P index fund, 33 cents on the dollar invested in the Magnificent Seven because they represent 33% of the weighted adjusted value of the market. So if they double, which they could, you participate. But if they're overvalued and the other 493 stocks finally get their day in the sun, you're going to have 67 cents in those. And so it's really just a function of what I'd call maturity and recognizing that you should be totally focused on your day job and your gig, having some discipline, some savings muscle such that you can deploy an army of capital that in your sleep will go conquer and kill on behalf of you and your family and send the spoils home. And the sooner you start building that army, the bigger it gets and the more vicious and competent it gets. And, I was an idiot. I was always spending everything I had and always assumed that my company was just going to be huge because I was talented, I worked hard, I made a lot of money. So I'm like, why would I deny myself of anything? My company's going public. I'm going to be worth, on paper I was worth a lot of money before the dot-com implosion. And then all of a sudden I was worth zero, less than zero. So this is about, always have that plan B. And that plan B should be economically secure by the time you're my age, and you can get there. It's lean into your advantage. And for a lot of people, their advantage is time.